Using the distance formula, derive the standard form of the equation of a circle with center -7, -9, and the radius is 11. Okay, now this is pretty simple, okay? Now one thing, I remember back in algebra, you guys learned parabolas. Let me write an equation here. Don't copy it now because I'm going to erase it. I remember you guys used to do something like y is equal to x plus 3 squared, and then let's say plus 5. Remember, this used to give you a U shape. It was either open up or open down. You guys learned that back in algebra. Now, the interesting though, my parentheses that gave me the U shape was that my parentheses was to the second power. My exponent is actually what gave me the U shape. My other numbers, remember how inside, like here, the plus 3, that meant you guys moved to the left. So in this case, my graph should have been somewhere about here. I know plus we tend to think it's to the right, but here it is to the left. And then the number on the very outside that told us whether to move up or down. But what I'm going here, my focus here is in the parentheses. It was to the second power, so it gave us a U shape. And then I'm thinking of a circle. How does a circle look like? Well, I would need two U shapes, right? I would need a U shape open down and a U shape open up. And if I combine it, so if I add them, that's going to create a circle. That's exactly how that formula is going to look like. So here, let's take a look at here. I'm going to go y is equal to, oh no, forget, not graphing a line. Sorry, I forgot. Okay, now here, I'm going to look at my x value, x minus 7. Okay, and I'm going to be thinking of parentheses here. I want a U shape, so I want this to the second power. Okay, now because my x is -7, I am going to write x plus 7. I am going to write the opposite sign. So if it would have been plus or +7, I would have written -7. So x plus 7, intentionally leaving some spaces. You guys, if we type things, we don't leave spaces, but I left the spaces there. I'll talk about the spaces in a minute. And then I'm going to add. So that's going to give me a U shape. Then I'm going to think of another parenthesis here to the second power because that gives me another U shape. And then my Y value is a -9. So it's a -9. So I'm just going to go Y plus 9. Remember, I go opposite signs. So if it would have been +9, I would have said Y minus 9. I go opposite sign. Notice on each of my parentheses, when it was with the X, my X coordinate, I wrote X plus 7. On the parentheses that dealt with the Y, I wrote Y plus 9. So do keep those letters. And this is going to equal to, my radius is 11. So I'm keeping everything squared. So for right now, I'm just going to write 11 square. However, 11 square can be simplified, right? 11 times 11. So let me erase that. Let me erase 11 squared. And let me call this 121. Again, that came from 11 squared. I have everything squared. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the equation of a circle that is centered at -7, -9, and the radius is 11. That is the answer. However, how are we going to type this? My first parentheses, it is going to be given. The first parenthesis squared, the only thing is that I'm going to have a space inside of it. So I want you to complete it as x plus 7. Do notice, do notice that my x is lowercase. So don't capitalize the X. And then you're going to have to choose my plus sign. For us to understand that I'm putting two U shapes together, you guys have to choose your plus. Like I'm gonna just to double check, I'm gonna include a minus sign, like a time sign, a divide sign. I'm gonna include some other operations, but it is the plus sign that goes in there. So you guys have to choose that. And then on the second parentheses, the parentheses squared is gonna be given. I just didn't want us to be confused with the exponent and the parentheses. So I left the space inside and you guys will have to type in y plus 9. All together, please. All together. So they'll go y space plus space 9. No, 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 no. No spaces. All together. Okay. Also for the x, all together. No spaces. And then you guys are going to have the equal sign and then the space there. So you guys see my four little spaces like color in blue? That's what you're going to have to fill out. Okay, let's take a look at question number 4. So to begin with, you're going to be given this question. So using the distance formula, derive the standard form of the equation of a circle with center -3, -5, and radius 8. You're going to be seeing when you open your homework, your homework is going to look like this. And then for the first parentheses, I'm looking at my x value. My x is -3 here. So I'm just going to write x plus 3. Remember, opposite sign. If it was +3, I would have said x minus 3. Then in between the parentheses, I have to choose the plus sign. On the second parentheses for the y coordinate, because the y is -5, I am going to write y plus 5. Again, lowercase y, and notice I did opposite sign. If my 5 would have been a +5, I would have written y minus 5. And then at the very end, after the equal sign, I am going to write 64. Now the 64 came from the number 8, but 8 squared, 8 multiplied by itself, that's how I got the 64. Now that we know how to write the equation of a line, of a circle, let's practice on reading the equation of a circle. Here, we have to find the center and the radius of the circle given the equation below. Write the center as an order paired and the radius as a number. Give an exact answer or round it to 2 decimal places if necessary. Okay. So what we're going to be doing, this is how you guys are going to see for your answered. You guys are going to see C for centered. This is equal to, you guys are going to see a parentheses with a comma in between. And then it's asking, I'm going to put in blue, it's asking for two values there, the x coordinate and the y coordinate of your center. And then you're also going to see r for radius equals, and then there's a space. Our radius should be a numbered. If it happens to be a decimal, round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so let's take a look. My x value, I'm looking at my x parentheses, my x coordinate, because it says -3, right? X minus 3. My x coordinate, the x value of my centered is +3. Remember, I go opposite side. Or my y value, because here it says y plus 8, the y coordinate of the center of my circle is -8. Remember, I go opposite sign. Now this, for the radius, I'm going to use this 36. Now remember that r squared, radius squared equals 36. Because remember how for numbers 3 and 4, the radius, we squared it to get the number. So radius squared is equal to 36. That means the radius is the square root of that number. A radius happens to be the square root of 36. Again, this number at the end is radius squared. So for you to get the radius, you have to get the square root of that. The way you undo exponents is with square roots. So the square root of 36, use your calculator if necessary. Square root of 36 happens to be 6. So I'm going to say the radius is 6. So the center is 3, -8. The radius is 6. Take a look at our question number 6. Find the center and the radius of the circle given the equation below. Write the center as an order paired and the radius as a number. Give an exact answer or one rounded to 2 decimal places if necessary. Okay, so my center. Again, you guys have to fill in spaces, but I'm just going to be okay. My center, my x value, I see x plus 7. So my x value is -7. Remember, opposite sign. For my y value, I see y minus 3. So my y value is +3. Now, 19 is my radius squared. So that means my radius is the square root of 19. According to my calculator, I get 4.358 and some more numbers. I'm looking at the first 3 decimal places. Even though it says 2 decimal places, I do take a look at the 3rd decimal place because it is big enough. And remember, big enough is 5 or more. This 8 is going to bring the previous number up. So my 5 will become 6. So my radius is 4.36.